with you how to infuse sugar. It's just a fun project, a frivolous project, but it turns out really good, and you can use herbs from your garden such as lavender and mint, or you can use the zest of fruit like orange, lemon. You can infuse with ginger, or you can infuse and not infuse, but you can flavor it instead with something like rosewater. And I made these really pretty rose flavored sugar cubes and added the little roses on top. So all you have to do to infuse your sugar is you're going to need some sugar, and you're going to need 1 tablespoon of whatever ingredient that you want to infuse it with. So for something like the zest of the orange, the zest of the lemon, even the slices of ginger, you want to use about 1 tablespoon to 1 cup of sugar. For something like lavender, which is very strong, you want to use maybe half a teaspoon of dried lavender, or maybe a little bit more than half a teaspoon of fresh lavender to the sugar. And for mint, you want to use about 1 tablespoon of the fresh mint, maybe a little bit more, and infuse your sugar with it. And you're just going to use the leaves. So the only thing you have to do is you need a couple of jars with the lid, some plain white sugar, or you can also infuse sugar alternatives. So if your sugar alternative, if you find that it has some sort of aftertaste, infusing it with one of these flavors may help you better use it in your recipes and enjoy it more. So we're gonna just take a cup, and I'm gonna just start with the orange, and then you just want to take your sugar and you just want to layer it. And I've just zested, this is 1 whole orange, which ends up being no, this was actually 2 small oranges, which ends up being about 1 tablespoon of the zest, and then you just layer it. There's nothing easier than that. Oops, I think that's a little too much. Yeah, I could have added a little bit less. So you can see how, now you can see how those little pieces of orange are sitting in the sugar. And you're just going to cover it up. Now I add a little bit too much sugar. Cover it up, and you're just gonna let it sit for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, you're gonna have orange flavored infused sugar, and this tastes really great. Now I will show you at the end of 2 weeks, this is my orange infused, and you can definitely smell the orange in it. I've mixed it up, but I'll show you the texture of the sugar. It still has a little bit of moisture in it, so it's a very soft, fluffy sugar. And this is great to give as a gift in a jar, or just to use it at tea time. But I'm going to show you how to make the sugar cubes. They're really, really cute. And then if you were doing something like the lemon, I'm not going to fill it up so much. And again, the same thing. Just add your zest in layers. And for the lemon, I used 2 lemons. Came up with approximately a tablespoon. And for the mint, you're going to just get your fresh mint, and you want the leaves, you don't want to break it up too much, because I want to be able to pull out the leaves at the end of the 2 weeks. So once I've washed and dried my ginger, once I've washed and dried my mint, then I'm just going to add maybe 3 sprigs. Wow, that smells really fantastic. add the leaves. Maybe mash up the leaves a little bit before going in to allow some of those essential oils. You don't have to pack the mint down, and then you're just going to cover it. So that's the mint. You can see the fresh mint in there. It smells wonderful just having it in the room. And what it ends up happening in 2 weeks, I added a little bit of food coloring because I wanted to create the color to indicate what flavor of sugar it was. I had a little bit too much green, but that's okay. So here's the mint, and here are the leaves. They've turned dark. They've turned dark, so I'm going to fish them out, and I'm just going to put this through a sieve. Because I used the mint, you'll see that the sugar has hardened a little bit because there was a lot of moisture in there. But all you have to do is just break it up with a fork if it becomes a little bit stiff. There are those leaves, which still have some scent, but you can see that they've really kind of dried out because they've changed color. Put it through a sieve so you get this very beautiful, soft, fine sugar. And after you've sifted it out, put it in a dry jar, cover it up, and then you can just keep it on your shelf for a couple of months. It'll keep its flavor for quite some time. But you do want to make sure that you remove any of that material that you've put in there because it will just continue to dry up and maybe the flavors won't be as good if you leave it too long. So seal up your jar and put it off to the side. And this will keep for months, if not longer, and retain that mint-like flavor. So with the lavender, like I said, I only used half a teaspoon, and I've had this for a number of years because I wanted to see what would happen. And I can still smell the lavender in there. I left the lavender in the sugar. So I left the lavender in the sugar. There's little specks of it because I wanted to be able to identify it. And I also did color it to make it look like lavender. And put these off to the side. And like I said, you can use the sugar alternative to infuse. And actually, this is my sample jar that I was working on. So I infused it with lavender and I infused it with mint, and it worked for both. It's actually a nice combination. It's lavender and mint. So these are not only great for beverages, hot beverages, but you can use them to iced tea, lemonades. You can use them for cocktails, for rimming glasses, or you can use them in recipes to top off cupcakes, whatever. This is the lemon that I made, and it definitely has that lemony smell to it, so that's a nice one too. Now, a fun thing to do is to take our flavored sugar and turn it into sugar cubes. So I took some of my flavored sugar and just turned them into sugar cubes. And they are just really adorable. They look beautiful on a high tea table, serving it with tea. It looks really, really nice. These are really sweet because you can also adorn them with little dried flowers, and these are just the tops for my chives. They look like little purple pom-poms. So I could divide those and add them to the top of the sugar cubes. Making your own sugar cubes, which is very simple. We're just going to add a tablespoon of water to a cup of sugar. We're going to mold it into a square and cut it into cubes and let it dry overnight. So it's very simple. So you can use the sugar that you have infused or flavored, or you can just use plain sugar. and then adorn the sugar cubes with little decorations such as the dry flowers. Some little silver balls would look really nice. And I've even got some handmade tiny flowers, which I made with just some royal icing. So all you want to do to make the sugar cubes, and you're going to need a flat dish because we're going to mold this into a rectangle and let it sit overnight. It'd be better if you had an exact dish that was bottomless that you could mold the sugar into and pull it off, but I don't have that. So I'm just going to use my cookie sheet, and I've just lined it with either wax paper or parchment paper. So you can just use regular plain white sugar or organic sugar. You can't use the monk fruit sugar or the sugar alternatives to make the sugar cubes because they do not hold. The crystals in the sugar alternative are much larger than the regular processed white sugar cane. So it doesn't hold, and I actually, they turned out really solid, and I did try making the sugar cubes with the sugar alternative, the monk fruit sugar, but as you can see, it's not a perfect square, and when I pinch it, it totally disintegrates. Whereas the sugar cane that's dried is rock hard. So we're going to take, like I said, either a cup of plain white sugar, or I'm going to take my sugar that I infused with lemon. It's already a little bit moist, so. So 1 cup of sugar, and this is my infused sugar, and 1 tablespoon of water. Now you can flavor plain white sugar with something like the rosewater, and that's how I made these rose flavored, the rosebud sugar cubes. So what I did was I used plain white sugar, and my 1 tablespoon of water, I used 1 tablespoon of the rose water and added it to it. That gave me the liquid to form the sugar cubes, but it also flavored my sugar. Now, because I'm using sugar that's already infused, there's a flavor in it, I am going to use water. And because I want to add a little bit of color just to make it yellow, I'm going to add a drop of yellow food coloring to the water now. So I want to keep that 1 tablespoon of liquid ratio to 1 cup of sugar to make these sugar cubes. So I got my 1 tablespoon of water and just a drop of the yellow. Whoops. I can smell the lemon zest, it's nice. So you want to mix this until it becomes a damp sand. And you want to make sure that every grain of sugar has the equal amount of moisture, because making sure that that moisture is like thoroughly throughout all of the sugar, it's going to give us the consistency that we're looking for of wet sand. So it looks like this. You can see when you squeeze it together, it holds. That's what we're looking for. So with clean hands, so you want your cubes to be about 1/2 inch high or 3/4 of an inch high. And I've just taken 2 pieces of cardboard and wrapped it in cellophane so that I can really get my sugar compact. This is a lot easier if you actually had a mold this size. And I'm only making 1 cup, so you get the idea. So I just press into the corner, and I just keep moving it around and keep pressing into the corner. And like I said, the more compact you make it, the nice and firmer it will become. So it works better with one on the side, one on top. And then with a very thin knife, you just want to, so I'm gonna get 1, 2, 3, okay, so I'm gonna get 4 across. So I'm gonna get, looks like I'm gonna get about 24 cubes. And you just want to slice it. You just use a knife and slice it. Also clean your knife in between every slice so that you don't, to keep those edges as smooth as possible. So for this height, so I got 24 little sugar cubes, but you're gonna get anywhere from 15 to 24, depending on how much you compact it and how thick it is. These turned out thicker, but I used more sugar to make them. And I'm just using 1 cup to show you what it would be like, so that you've got the ratios. And then I take this, I actually just put it in my, my oven, just so it would be out of the way overnight, and then they dried. And they turn out, look, these two guys are still stuck together. They turn out nice and hard, and maybe they're not perfect cubes, but that's what makes them original and handmade. So then a nice way to decorate these little cubes and just make them extra special. So then with your little cubes, you can add little dried chive flowers, little tiny roses, and those are dry edible roses. The little silver balls, and then just some little flowers that I made with royal icing in advance. And all I took was a little bit of icing sugar and a drop of water. And you don't want the icing to be so runny that the sugar absorbs it. You want it to be a little bit thick so it sits on top of the sugar cube. And you just want to dot. And then I can add just a silver bead to the whites. Or I can add my chive flower. It's cute. It looks like a little chive pom-pom. Oops, too much. Ooh, too much. And then I've got these little flowers. Little icing flowers. And I can tell you, if you're serving tea and you serve these beautiful little sugar cubes to your guest, they are going to feel extra special. So if you try this, I hope that you like it. And if you like it, I hope you share it. If you'd like to see more content, I hope you subscribe. Here's to tea time and a little sweet something on the side.